Hello and welcome to the Medical Sales Podcast. I'm your host, Samuel, founder of a revolutionary medical sales training and mentorship program called the Medical Sales Career Builder, and I'm also host of the Medical Sales Podcast. In this podcast, I interview top medical sales reps and leading medical sales executives across the entire world. It doesn't matter what medical sales industry, from medical device to pharmaceutical to genetic testing and diagnostic lab, you name it, you will learn how to either break into the industry, be a top 10% performer within your role, or climb the corporate ladder. Welcome to the Medical Sales Podcast. And remember, I am a medical sales expert sharing my own opinion about this amazing industry and how it can change your life. I particularly love the conversation of access because after COVID, access has always been somewhat of a challenge in medical sales, right? That's why it's medical sales, and that's why it's the industry it is, and that's why they look for the brightest and the best to hire so they can get that access. Yeah. But after COVID, access turned into a completely different beast. And it's still something that's very prevalent on everyone's mind today, and especially for the top performing rep that's doing it the way you reminded, which is, don't just hang out where there's low hanging fruit. Don't just hang out where all your friends are. Go to the places that strategically make the most sense for the penetration of your own business and figure out a way to get in there and do your thing, which brings us back to access. What is Ignite selling? How do you guys see helping around getting access? Or is there something that Ignite selling has around getting access?
Yeah, I think we break down getting access kind of maybe two buckets. Maybe there's a third one if we really think about it. But one is getting access into accounts to where you're well known. You're there. You're inside the account, but they're not utilizing your product to the degree that you know that they should or could. Okay. Products on the shelf, but so are 3 other products on the shelf. And right now you've got 2 of the doctors using your product, but the other 3 are not using your solutions at all. So how do you get access to drive greater utilization? That's one bucket. Sure. The other bucket would be how do I get access into an account that we're not currently in today? Mm-hmm. So let's kind of break those things down quickly just into 2 different buckets. I think that when you look at the first one, which is we're inside the account, but we're not getting the utilization or driving the market share or share of the wallet that we think we can inside this account. What do we do? I think that it comes down to a couple of things. One is that it's critically important to understand that are you leveraging your advocates to help win over some of those adversaries, those people that are not supporting you? Or are you trying to go at it alone? I go see these other 3 doctors who are using my competitor product, but they won't give me they won't give me their time. I send them their emails, they're not responding. The best way to get access is through a referral or an introduction from somebody who supports you. So we ask questions. When we ask the thing, who is your strongest advocate inside the account? They'll say, oh, this is Dr. Yates. Terrific. Now here's the question. Is Dr. Yates an advocate or just a user of your product? Well, what's the difference? They're using my product. They love us. What has Dr. Yates said or done to carry the flag for your company throughout this hospital? What actions have they taken other than just use your product? Have you asked them to go talk to these other doctors? Have you asked them to quantify the impact of their results because they've used your solution, and to quantify that so that you can take it to others? What actions have they taken? So when you're in this bucket over here, it's all about, are you leveraging your advocates to help neutralize and win over those people, or to get access to those people that you need to get access to? And the other camp, where they don't even know how to spell your company name, how do you get access there? And I think though much more difficult, it's still not impossible. I think the answer there, what we have found, is that those sales representatives that can understand what the mission critical initiatives are for that hospital or from that department. Okay. Not too long ago, we were working on keep the medical device manufacturer out of the equation. But one of the things the sales representative did was they understood what was happening within that IDN. And they found out that there was an independent hospital that was going to be acquired by another IDN. And that was going to force this hospital to have more influence inside that community, particularly in their areas of heart health. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, this was going to become a competitor to these other hospitals that were in this region. So what did the sales representative do? Well, the sales representative started looking at the metrics around cardiovascular health and cardiovascular care in that community and the types of doctors that were over here versus over here. Guess what? The local community hospital didn't have the big name cardiologists and cardiac surgeons as this one over here did. But the moment that community hospital was acquired by an IDN, guess what was going to happen? They potentially risk losing those doctors to start running their cases over here. So what the sales representative did is simply work to get access into the C-suite of the hospital by simply saying, hey, sending communications and saying, this is what I'm aware of. And what they did was they eventually, this took a little while, but what they eventually did is they had a referral into the hospital administration to share their data. And they were asking them, what is your strategy, Mr. Hospital Administration, to prevent these cardiac surgeons from starting to run their cases now over to this new hospital? It's not new, but it's now going to be a much larger influence in the community. Right. What are they doing? What's your strategy? Because I've been watching this, and I think we might be able to help. All of a sudden, they had their ear. That's just one example, Sam, on what you can do to help get into a hospital that you're not currently penetrated.
But it goes back to what you're saying. It's all about the strategy and the fact that they inserted themselves and the fact they took the time to clearly understand where they can offer them value, which is understanding the competition with the IDNs, took them back to a strategy that allowed them to be seen, which gave them access. So it goes back to what you're saying.
Yeah. All comes down to thinking before you act.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Right. So we're in 2025. This is the This is the commercialization of AI, where it's everywhere. I mean, it's everywhere, including medtech companies, including the sales force of medtech companies. I mean, I know of a few companies off the top of my head that have added an AI assistant to their sales reps. Tell me what you know, if anything, Steve. Is Ignite Selling playing with this, thinking about it, doing it already? Talk to me.
Yeah, we don't have a choice. I mean, AI, I just published an article, it was just published last week in Top Sales magazine. And it was all about the utilization of AI in the sales world. I think that if you've got your head in the sand right now, you're gonna wake up and wonder what the hell happened, when you wake up about how quickly things are moving. Right. Ignite Selling is not just embedding AI into our tools to help people think more strategically, but we're also encouraging our sales team at Ignite Selling, as well as our clients, to leverage a smart AI assistant, maybe by coming up with 5 questions. Mm-hmm. So with my sales team, if they're going to be going after a new med tech company, there are 5 questions to which they need to, they simply just type in, they'll type in, Stryker Corporation. And the answer to these 5 questions automatically come up because the prompts are already there. But they're simple. The same kind of questions could be asked for any med tech sales rep or any pharmaceutical or diagnostic sales rep. If you're trying to go into St. David's Hospital, like that's here in Austin, okay, simply pop up the questions. So your first question would be what are the top 3 strategic initiatives for St. David's Hospital going into 2026? That'd be one question you need to know about. Another question would be how successful were they at meeting their objectives in 2025?
I hope you're enjoying today's episode. And I want to let you know our programs cover the entire career of a medical sales professional. From getting into the medical sales industry, to training on how to be a top performer in the medical sales industry, to masterfully navigating your career to executive level leadership. These programs are personalized and customized for your specific career and background, and trained by over 50 experts, including surgeons. Our results speak for ourselves, and we're landing positions for our candidates in less than 120 days in top medical technology companies like Stryker, Medtronic, Merck, Abbott, you name it. Would you run an Ironman race without training and a strategy? You wouldn't. So why are you trying to do the same with a medical sales position? You need training, you need a strategy, and you need to visit evolveyoursuccess.com, fill out the application, schedule some time with one of our account executives, and let's get you into the position that you've always dreamed of.
Another one is, what's the biggest investments that they're making to better serve the community here in the Austin area. Anyway, it's about coming up with these list of questions so that you simply type in St. David's, those answers simply come up, bam, 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 bam. Now I understand what the metrics are, how well did they achieve their metrics last year, where's the biggest investments, what are the biggest threats, whatever they might be. And now I have a litany. All I typed into AI was St. David's.
Right. What
Now
are the other two? What are the other two questions?
Well, they could be anything, but they are all about what's happening at the strategic level of the account that our solutions can link to. Here at Ignite Selling, one of the things that my sales representatives do, if they're going to put in Stryker, one of the first things they do is they'll simply type in Stryker and they'll say, what are the major business units of Stryker Corporation? There they come out. Now you know all the business units of Stryker. Which is the largest revenue producer of Stryker Corporation? And that particular one will come out. Which of these business units is struggling the most? That will then come out. Who's the greatest competitors to this particular business unit? This information will fall out. And then the other questions that my team asks are, who do these sales representatives need to engage to create value for these particular products? And you'll hear chief nursing officer, risk managers, surgeons, whatever the case might be. And then the last question is going to be what is the common decision criteria of the risk managers, surgeons, when comparing Stryker to other competitive solutions that are in the marketplace? And so now my team is now armed with a series of questions about who is Stryker, who's their biggest revenue producer out of the business units, what's the biggest challenges in the market, who do they face, who do they sell to, and of those buyers, what's the criteria they use when they're making buying decisions? Now, my team is now prepared to have a business conversation about how can Ignite Selling help them improve those metrics.
Now, does your team use a public AI platform for this, or did you guys create your own?
Yeah, we've created our own.
Okay, because I was going to say,
Samuel, I don't think that you can. Yeah, I think you can still use the public version. You're just going to be limited to how many questions you can ask in a single day.
Well, and also, how do you manage the hallucinations? If you're using one of the public platforms, how do you know you're getting data that's real?
Yeah, I think that's the reason. Well, even with ours, even though ours is closed because we're developing our own prompts and our own kind of chatbots, I do think that it's still susceptible to hallucinations. Because remember, I'm asking about, for example, Stryker.
Right.
And when I go out to ask about Stryker, it's going out to all over the data that's been published.
Whatever. Right.
Correct. Right. So therefore, when we are asking our prompts, we continue to drill down to validate certain information. Okay. And we teach our sales team, you've got to be smart on the questions that you're going to ask, because if they went and asked a question, assuming that the biggest business unit for Stryker is orthopedics, I'm going to just make this up.
Sure.
And they simply say, and they position their question simply saying, I'm aware that your biggest business unit today, revenue driver, is orthopedics. And one of the biggest challenges you guys have been facing based upon the 10K report that I read, or the last, the last call, the shareholders call that I listened to, can you tell me a little bit about blah, 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 blah? That could be a hallucination if you didn't go back and validate it. Now you've lost all credibility.
Right.
So you do need to ask it continued questions that vets out any potential hallucinations.
Do you think that, okay, I'll ask it anyway. Do you think that AI will ever replace the sales rep?
No.
Okay.
No.
Do you think that AI will significantly reduce the number of sales reps that are in the field today?
It already has. It wasn't even AI that did that. Okay. The internet did that.
Sure. So, but you see it going even further, of course.
I think it will. I think that the role of a salesperson in the next 10 years is simply going to change. You're not going to be replaced, but what you are there to do is to be that advisor. You don't need to share information anymore. They got it. They know it. They too are putting in, should I do business with Medtronic or Boston Scientific based on these factors?
Just the other day, I had a client that said their doctor was arguing with the rep about what ChatGPT was saying about their product versus what the rep's PI was saying about their product. I couldn't believe it, but yeah, you're right. You're right.
That's the reason why I think that the role of a the top performers today, those to whom will survive and thrive in the future, will be those to whom we can help hospitals or physicians make better buying decisions based upon the direction, the strategic direction that hospital or that physician's office is striving to go. Because guess what? Physicians, particularly in the physician's offices, say you're selling in the aesthetics marketplace, you're selling hair removal lasers.
Sure.
Okay. And these are $500,000 units going into an office. These doctors didn't go to business school. These doctors need help making a good business decision. The same can be said for a VAC committee. People on the VAC committee in a hospital have been trained to buy what is clinically acceptable. We've all heard that, right? This is clinically acceptable and it's cheap. Buy it. As opposed to, let's keep the clinical value there, but let's also look at which of these partners, these solution providers, can actually help us achieve the market share for patients over 72 that we're striving for in the next 12 months. Who can actually help us do that? Mm-hmm. And so that is a different kind of conversation to have, because I knew that this hospital has a desire to go after patients that are over 72 years old. They want to increase that patient population of Medicare patients from 22% to 34% in the next 24 months. Mm. I'm going to talk to them not about the clinical value of my product, but how my company and my solutions together can help them meet that metric.
Right.
That's the value of a sales rep. Mm-hmm. AI can't do that.
Sure. Earlier in my career, when I was in the field, I just assumed that eventually medtech companies would hire physicians and nurse practitioners to be sales reps, because it just seemed like it made so much sense. It's automatic credibility. It's peer-to-peer. It's heavy influence. Like, why wouldn't they do this? Yeah. And I guess with a medical science liaison position, it kind of happened, but not really. And especially not to the extent I imagined. Do you still see that coming, or do you think AI is going to displace that notion?
Again, I think that clinical support, clinical expertise is always going to be needed. And I think you're going to see particularly medical device companies looking to take physicians and clinicians in general and bring them into their sales organization in some capacity. Pharmaceuticals are bringing them into this medical liaison role, right? So I think you're going to see that. And it's different in pharmaceuticals because that's a liaison. They're having conversations that a sales representative can't have, because of all the rules and regulations that are there. But I think in the medical device world and diagnostic world, those clinician roles are always going to be needed, I believe, because they bring that clinical viability and truth in a way that customers don't view sales representatives to have.
Right.
Okay? So I don't see AI replacing that. I think AI is merely going to adapt how that clinical application specialist does their job, or how a sales representative does their job, or how a health economics team does their job. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's going to replace those people, at least not in our lifetime, and I'm older than you are.
I'll take it. Steve, this was fantastic. Is there anything else you'd love to share with our audience before we go today? Remember, our audience are people that want to get into medical sales, people that are in medical sales, the people that are leading medical sales. Anything you want to share with them today?
I'll close with this. I think that we have seen over the last decade, one of the biggest differences between top performers and average performers are those individuals to whom hold themselves accountable for doing the right things in the early, middle, and late stages of their pipeline process. So they have it clearly defined. They know exactly what I should be doing in stage 1 versus stage 2 versus stage 3, and they're not skipping steps. Mm. So I am holding myself accountable to ensuring that I'm doing the right things at the right time. Because if I skip steps in the early process, we know that the opportunity is going to stall. Mm-hmm. And if you just ask yourself, for this is a question to all of your listeners today, is what is the average length of time does an opportunity stay in a single stage? And is it acceptable based upon the buying process of your customer? So in other words, if your customers make buying decisions on picks and ports, in their hospital, and they can make that buying decision in 60 days. and you have an opportunity sitting in your pipeline for 4 to 5 months, guess what? You're not doing something right.
Sure.
So ask yourself, what do I need to be doing in the early, middle, and late stages on a consistent basis to make sure that I maintain momentum throughout the entire pipeline process?
Love it, Steve. Thank you, Steve. Steve, thank you for being on the show. It was great having you.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode. And remember, I have a customized and personalized program that gets you into the medical technology industry as a sales professional, or any type of role for that matter. Become a top performer in your position and masterfully navigate your career to executive level leadership. Check out these programs and learn more at evolvesuccess.com by visiting our site, filling out an application, schedule some time with one of our account executives, and allowing us to get you where you need to be. Stay tuned for more awesome content with amazing interviews on the Medical Sales Podcast.